Hello, welcome to the Old Man Orange Podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunnigan.
We are getting farther into the Pokemon Adventures with Pokemon Adventures Volume 5, seeing where our boy Yellow is, because that's, I guess, we're following this farm boy dressed like, you know, he's in the 1700s. Crusading.
I almost said Don Corleone, but I meant Don Quixote.
Yeah, with his like little tunic on and sun hat and, you know, Pokemon posse of his random kind of group of like followers. And essentially, he's almost like a cult leader, really, at the end of the day. These Pokemon all believe is like in the power of love.
Well, he does actually have the healing ability. That's something he has over most other cult leaders. Now, if he starts offering them Kool-Aid, that's when you got to start worrying. But, you know, so far it's not one of those things where, well, I guess all Pokemon trainers are kind of cult leaders because they always are separating them from their families. They're already pushing them for their own agenda. So, but, you know, he seems to be a little nicer about it. But you said earlier on, I think the last episode, how Blue in this version is basically kind of gone like almost like Piccolo. This is totally, somebody watched season 1 of Dragon Ball Z before writing this next issue or two, because holy shit, they were just like, this Yellow might as well be Gohan, Blue might as well be Piccolo.
Yeah, those first couple chapters are like full on just but they're out like in the middle of this almost like desert-like area, looking like a Dragon Ball Z area, with a couple
New
like
Mexico,
random
basically,
ass trees poking up somewhere. God knows where they are. Like not even in Kanto anymore. That's like so far out there.
Well, he's doing this thing where he's just standing out there, like, you know, Yellow is sleeping. He wakes up, like, hey, where's Blue? Oh, what's he doing just standing out there? Then boulders come flying at him, and he's just timing himself, and he just throws a Scyther out there, and Scyther cuts them all in perfectly symmetrical squares. And he's like, Charizard, throw another!
Yeah, it's his one's like, we need more training. I have to defeat Red once he comes back. Fuck that guy from Paladin. Fuck my neighbor.
and then they end up having like you find out that somehow it's fucking resilient, because I think there might be an island or something. That Caterpie that he saved from the last issue follows him over, and he says like, all right, dude, you basically what you got to do is next step, try to catch this thing. But I don't really like fighting or hurting him. Like, well, that's the thing. You got to catch it. So then, like, you know, takes him a whole day to catch a Caterpie, and Blue's like, you gotta be shitting me. Even the way it's kind of drawn, like he never shows any like reaction, but this is like the most expressive you get. It's like, really, is that possible? Really?
Well, the funny thing too is because it almost gets to this point where, like, okay, in the last one, it was that kind of thing where, like, you look at Yellow and you're going, oh, it's gonna be such a bitch character, and then it's like, oh no, he actually gets, you know, kind of gets by on someone. All of a sudden, like, all these things, you just realize he got by on so much dumb luck, because like now that Blue's trained him, it's like Yellow's got all the dumb questions and so on, and just like, oh, right, well, how do you do this or how do you do that? Like, the fuck, you just saved the fucking day in the last book. Like, what are you asking me these questions for? Like.
They kind of made him dumb just for this issue. As it goes on, he's back to being like likable again. Mm-hmm. But for this issue, just because he's only had them as friends, and he just has a psychic bond with them. So that's kind of how he's able to just communicate with them so easily. But when it actually comes to training, you realize, oh, he's not a trainer. He's only just been trying to get away, and he's basically just an escape artist. He's not a fighter. And that itself is interesting, because it's not really about, like, the concept is, it's not about, like, his story, it's not about someone training to be the best, it's just about someone trying to do the right thing and get, you know, Pikachu back to his master. So that's what it's all about, really.
Yeah, and I mean, like, he even explains it towards the very end of that training. He goes, you know what, Blue, I gotta leave, because here's the thing, I realized that, I kind of just, when there's an expert next to me, I just seem like a fucking idiot, though it's almost like I'm like self, you know, conscious about every action I do. So it's almost like he explains why he's kind of being like this fuck up on the island. Like, oh, like, I just don't do good when there's a serious guy around me, like, you know, facing death and, you know, doom every single day.
Well, once he actually manages to capture that Caterpie, his Rattata actually finally turns into Eradicate. And something I like about this art style is, even though whenever they have like a faint zoom in rather than do a perspective thing, the characters just kind of go sort of like that chibi style whenever they zoom out. Mm-hmm. But something I do like is, this is going to sound like maybe a weird thing, but Pokemon that you really don't generally like, because Raticate, I mean, Rattatat's kind of whatever, but Raticate looks like, get that fucking thing out of here. Just put it down like Old Yeller. This, it's actually, oh, you made it look kind of cute. You can still kind of see why he likes it. You know what I mean? When it first transforms, like, what the fuck is that? But then, as it goes on, like, it's a little bit more expressive. It doesn't always constantly have that, like, look on its face, you know?
Oh yeah, well, because it's like, the thing about Raticates, those, in Pokemon, whenever you would see the people with them, you're like, oh, it's just that fucking kid from the trailer. It shows, like, oh, he's got a Raticate. He somehow, some way, like, captured in the backyard last night, and now he thinks he's all fucking something. Like, it always had that feeling, like, it's just like, oh, it's that kid now. He's gonna try to sell me drugs, like, by the time this Pokemon match is done, you know?
It's kind of funny. There's one point where back when I first played Pokemon, I don't know where I missed it, but for some reason I missed that you can withdraw characters from the from Bill's PC. Somehow I just missed that over Reddit. So I was almost being very strategic with the ones I caught, afraid of like which ones can I pull out, which one's gonna. So for a while I had this Rattata with me. And then I'm like, how am I going to get rid of this thing? I know, I'm just going to abandon it at the daycare. And then later I found out that, oh, you can withdraw them. And, you know, I didn't realize that by, like, I think the third or fourth, like, gym. And then after I went to the Elite Four, I'm like, oh shit, I left Eradicate over at the freaking like daycare thing. And then I'm like, let me just see what happens. I put that thing in my team. It's like taking out like a Gyarados in one hit.
It's like level 68 or something like that, like higher than everything else in the game.
Just about, yeah.
That's what I always kind of like to do that though. We just leave a Pokemon there at the daycare center and just see what it is at the very, very end of the game.
You just go there, like, everyone in the center is dead, and you just see, like, your Pokemon, like, just bench pressing a pile of dead bodies.
Yeah. The Pokemon it's just so funny. It's like the Pokemon that stays at the daycare, like, you just like, what's like, why is that the toughest one? It's like, he's just sitting around, like, you know, playing hopscotch and, you know, like, making cookies and shit.
Except that Rattata dropped off. He's just, like, chain smoking, and then he's just doing, like, pull-ups. He was doing that shit from Foxcatcher where he's looking in the mirror, slapping his face, starts bashing his head into the mirror.
Yeah, getting amped. Serious. But yeah, like in this one, I think that's one of the coolest things is like they don't rely on, I guess, like, you know, your bread and butter sales Pokemon. You know what I mean? Like they'll use all kinds of like they really make great use of the 150 roster. You know what I mean? It feels like everything kind of has a moment. Like, I mean, I know in the anime, like every episode there'd be like that one episode that had have like a Pokemon in it, but that'd be mostly about it. It'd be like, there's an episode of Cubone, you'll never see him fucking again, you know, or there's the episode with like you know, Farfetch. That's fucking it. That's all it is.
Well, this one also does this thing because after he captures the Caterpie, and you know, for a while he's like, I'm gonna go find you guys some food. You guys chill here. Pikachu's watching the Caterpie, and this is more of like, this almost seems like something that would be in like one of those little short films before the movie that went to theaters, where it's just like Pikachu just trying to babysit this thing, but it's actually kind of funny, you know, it's just this innocent little Caterpie chasing around like a leaf, and it's leading over to a cactus. Pikachu chases it, overpasses him, falls in the cactus, and the leaf's heading towards it, then he's blowing it away, and then it just goes off another direction until like, I think it's a Pidgeotto comes by, and swoops it.
He just picks up the fucking Caterpie, and then Pikachu's like, Peekaboo!
Gets into a fight, and I want to say that's where he also sends out Raticate.
Yeah, and then of course, you know, fucking Yellow comes back. He's like, I found you guys flowers. Aw, they're sleeping. They'd be like, you don't know what the fuck we had to go through today. You left us here to fucking die.
Where were you? We had to eat the other ones.
Where's Ratty? There is no more Ratty. Me and Pikachu got fucking hungry. Like, that's how the... Caterpie, why do you talk like that? Shut the fuck up and give me some shit to eat now, boy.
He's all like, I've absorbed him and his nutrients. We are one and the same now. Feed me, boy, or you'll be next. It's like, God, what happened to Pikachu?
If we eat the Doduo, we can gain its power.
Well, then at some point, then he says like, all right, well, I'm going to train the Omnimite and the Graveler for a minute, but they're just too strong for him because they don't respect him. But he's like, well, these are trained by top tier like gym leaders. They're not going to listen to some goofy ass little kid in a fucking straw hat.
Yeah, who has no fucking badges, mind you.
Well, they also make a good thing. Like this thing doesn't only just do a good job of utilizing the roster, but they also have a lot of other characters, like human characters and things in the game that you don't even really think about. Because in the game, you can stop them from evolving. And in this, they actually explain it, like, oh yeah, the way you stop them from evolving is when they start doing that motion, you pull out your Pokedex and push this button. It sends a frequency that ends that.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of neat. So, and it's like, even Gary or Blue even says, he's like, see, you can't do that without a Pokedex. Pretty cool, huh? Like, and I kind of like how it's like, oh, it makes it feel like, oh, that's how, like, everything in here has, like, logic tied to it, which is just kind of interesting, you know what I mean? Where, like, things, you almost kind of just take them for granted. You don't think
logic would blend in with Pokemon, yeah.
And it's not saying that, like, it's not saying that you wouldn't think that, but it's just almost that kind of thing that, like, you know, you almost more just sort of took a lot of those things just for granted because it's a video game, you know? Like, signs like, you know, there's just certain things you just don't always question it, but I almost like how it's like, oh, well, here's a little explanation just if you really want to know.
Mm-hmm. And then at some point, they just start getting attacked by a bunch of, Mankeys, and then they fight him off together. Like, okay, he's not as great, he still has a lot to learn, but he's kind of like got the guts and he's got the heart for a trainer. So there's hope here. And then within that thing, he ends up finding a way like, oh, you know what? Because, you know, a bunch of Mankeys are attacking. They find out a Primeape is calling the shots, and they realize, oh, this Primeape right here, it just doesn't really, there's no food. So these things are getting desperate and stupid. So after they beat it, I think he heals it, and I think he catches it. I don't know if he catches it or not, but then they do some interesting other things, like, oh yeah, that Porygon I got, Porygon that I got a while ago. Turns out that thing's inside my Pokedex is basically a computer program as it is, so I just sent that thing out to your Pokedex and...
Oh, the Porygon?
The Porygon, yeah.
Yeah, like, yeah, because Blue's just like, yeah, I just, just hacked the system and whatnot, just sent through, basically cyber data.
It's the 90s, so hacking's cool.
Yeah, and 3D objects are too. So I
guess he doesn't capture the Primeape, he just lets it go, but yeah.
Yeah, he just lets it go and so on. And then it's also like in the background, you kind of have the other gym leaders are all out like trying to figure out this Elite Four plan going on, and Brock's out there like searching in the mountains. And Blaine, I love how he's just got like the fucking super nerd just like, fucking in a lab testing him. He's like, what makes him such a super nerd? Back in my day,
we got laid yet? Probably not.
Yeah. This was like back in my day, I was considered a nerd, but he's super nerd. Like, how does he get his powers? What is he doing?
Oh, I realize now. It's a lack of power. It's no power whatsoever. Amazing.
You'd be like, Blaine, you figured out that Elite Four thing? Oh, yeah, I'll get around to it. Don't worry. Still doing thing. Yep. Old Blaine's on the case. Yep.
Comes back when we see what his Tinder profile is. Of course, he's wearing a fedora.
Yeah, he thinks he's so fucking cool. Oh, he's got a fucking acoustic guitar in that one, too. I bet you he doesn't really know how to play it. If he does play it, we all know what he's playing. We all know
3 chords only.
3 chords only, and he thinks he's in Sublime, but he's not. He's not. Blaine, yeah, I'll fucking get to it. Shit. I'm your fucking ponytail horse.
There was, So then we jump over to, after all that training. What's the next part? Then he gets aboard the SS Anne.
Yeah, because he's doing things like, you know what, Blue? You're a good trainer and all, but I think I need to do my own thing. He's like, thank Christ, just get the fuck on. I thought this was going to be easy. Well, I'm leaving. Yeah, exactly.
Not fast enough.
Yeah, shit. And then I love when he gets on the SSA and he's like, well, I'm going to go off and, do my things. And it literally, there's like the Pokefan, like the creepy old man. And it's like he's watching 8mm porn of fucking like Pokemon.
Yeah. that he found in the black market in like 8mm.
He's underneath the fucking casino in Celadon City. That's where he went down to the buy it from Team Rocket. Just be like, oh, yeah, look at that Blastoise going right there. Oh, it's fucking Spearow. That Blastoise is going to fuck that Spearow. Yeah, I fucking know it. Yeah, that's
Good.
Right.
It's that power dynamic I love.
Just like, oh, yeah. And then, I love for some reason.
He makes his characters fight so he could throw payday and then collect it so he could get rich.
Yeah, exactly. Like the old man's like, oh, now since I'm an old man, I can finally go out in the SSN and jerk off the Pokeporn and sit out in the sun and, you know, have hot little boys wait on me, you know. And
I'm waiting for them to have something with this guy, because it looks like that beard looks fake as fuck, and he's always wearing a fedora, he always has these glasses, he's always too wacky of a character. And for a minute, I'm like, oh shit, is this like, is he gonna be somebody like in disguise? That's what I was waiting for the whole time. And then, oh, I guess he was nothing. Oh, he's back. Oh, I guess nothing. Then he's back again. I'm like, all right, what's gonna? No, he's just there to just fucking do weird shit.
Yeah, it's odd because it's just the way that he's drawn. It's just like you couldn't have drawn. It's like a more faker looking beard and mustache. It looks like fucking like Alfalfa's like sneaking into a fucking movie theater.
Looks like a kid sneaking into an R-rated movie theater. It's exactly what it looks like. But I do think it's funny, and I know it probably wasn't intended to be this way, but when he's on the SSN, at some point it starts to like just turn over and sink, but it kind of happens out of nowhere. And they show the midway drawing of him like kind of falling forward a little bit, but the next one it's just totally like, you know, nose up. So I just like to imagine like like it just flipped like immediately, like there's no progression, you know?
Yeah, it wasn't like fucking like a buildup of fucking VHS 2 of Titanic. Like no, it just fucking like shot straight up. You're like, oh shit.
Or like the like captain's like, let's do a wheelie. Oh shit, it's not going back.
Just fucking always wanted to fucking just, you know, put the pedal to the metal on this thing.
And that's where you find out Team Rocket's back and they're attacking. But it's one of those things where it's like, I guess they just wanted to bring him back for a second just to, you know, bring it full circle. But it's one of those things, and they actually kind of brought it back around to bring up a plot point from a previous story. But this whole thing with Team Rocket, like, no, we're not. This is like, Team Rocket, you guys are gone. Like, oh, no, we're back now. We're back. Like, oh, you are? Yeah, it's like, we're like the guys right underneath, like, Sabrina and Surge and Koga. It's like, oh, who gives a fuck about you?
Yeah, well, these guys, too, are also, like, they're just, like, very incompetent and fucking goofy. They're almost like the Jesse and James, like, equivalent, without doing maybe, I guess, like, some goofy antics to throw into there. But, like, these ones, like, it's like those ones you think they're going to be sort of a threat, and it's just like, oh, no, they just fucking... These guys, I think, are even lower. You know, they're just kind of, like, puff and smoke right there, you know what I mean?
Well, from what they even show, like, the tree of, like, you know, basically the totem pole of Rocket, and just basically, yeah, they're still... Like, really? You guys are those guys? Whatever. And I think this is more just to be a quick fun issue compiled with a brief explanation. Because I'm guessing the writer of this probably got enough shit to, like, you know what? Poliworld doesn't evolve without a stone. Like, all right, yeah, I'm going to come back to that 50 issues from now.
Yeah, 50 little chapters away. We'll get around to it. And I like what it is because, like, the old Pokemon fan guy, he's like, oh, you know, there's some stones down below and under the SSN down there or in the, whatever, Celadon City fucking water. Yeah, and if you go down there...
It all runs together to me. It's all fucking wet.
Yeah, exactly. But these are, like, unlimited stones. They're not like those... Not like the ones you get in the store that, you know, you use once and it fucking breaks and then you're out... You know, get another one. You know, these are stones like back in the day, like when you used to buy a TV set, it would last you a lifetime. He's like, so boy, go get me those stones. And then it's like, but he uses that to explain, like, oh yeah, that Poliworld must have just fell on one of those stones. You know how it happens.
So it wasn't like love, or it wasn't like, you know, just instincts? No, don't be fucking stupid. That's not science.
Yeah. Check, boy, what are you, 6 years old? He's like, I'm 7. Well, you know. 7. Let's see. Well, that's still illegal. Okay, but
This is a world that runs in science. Now take your electric rat creature and then go with your rock monster and go save this baby Tentacool.
Yeah, go down there and go get me some stones, you know, and whatnot. And of course he goes down there and finds, he's like, oh shit, they're all fucking missing. Except for one. Except for Leafstone. Fuck the Leafstone. I just love whoever went down there is just like, yeah, fuck that, you know what I mean? You know, you probably could sell that. Yeah, but I gotta put them... My cargo pants are only so big, you know what I mean? Like, I gotta swim back up to the top.
My underwater cargo pants.
Do I need a fucking Leafstone? Shit, we aren't in fucking Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire yet. I ain't gonna need it for what I'm doing.
In Gen 1, what works on, what Leafstone, what Leafstone works on? Is it like...
I think Victory Bell's a Leafstone.
Victory Bell, and then anything else? Or is it just Victory
I think
Bell?
Vileplume might be too.
Vileplume.
But
So I guess there's only each one only had 2 or 3 stones that actually needed to evolve it.
Well, because I remember when I was a kid, that was the most confusing part. It was just like, dude, does this stone not work like on anything? Like, because I thought when I first got those stones, I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna be evolving Pokemon left and right. Like, because I almost thought it was just like, oh, it's a faster way to evolve. That was my theory on it, and then I was like, oh no, it's only literally just works on like a couple Pokemon each. It feels like the Lightning Stone works on more things than anything else, but I guess maybe it's just Pikachu and of course, Jolteon, Flareon, Vaporeon, but yeah, there's
Megaton. Is that Megaton?
I don't think
maybe not.
I actually don't think so on those ones.
There's not a whole lot of electric characters in Generation 1. There's a few, but not a lot.
Yeah, there's probably about all of like maybe there's probably less than 10. Yeah.
When you think about it, probably each type. Normal has a lot.
Yeah.
But each of the main each of the types, because there's 151. So really, when you think about it, you probably have like 10 to 15 characters per type in the original generation.
Yeah, I mean, it makes that sounds about right when you kind of say it out loud. But yeah, it is kind of weird how those stones. I just remember like it's one of those ones like if there wasn't like a guide or something that came along that kind of explained it, I feel like I would have just pocketed those and just been like, I guess they don't do anything.
Yeah,
because it's like it takes effort to sit there like, oh, I gotta pull out every single Pokemon I have just to see which one it works on.
Well, I also like how suddenly this thing for a minute kind of turns into like a Tom Clancy espionage story and goes into more detail than I thought this thing ever would. And earlier I said I liked how not only does it use a good roster of the Pokemon, but also use a good roster of the characters and uses certain things that you wouldn't think. There's certain like plot points that I never would assumed would play a crucial part in any main story. Like if there was, I mean, yeah, they met Bill in one episode of the show, but it was like, oh, we met him. We got him out of his costume. Now we're out. Cool.
Yeah.
But he keeps coming back in this, and he keeps on having something to do. And not only that, it's actually like, I would assume the whole, you can only carry 6 at a time. I assume that would not play a big part at all. But it's a really relevant part. So you find out the person who kind of nudged Yellow on the way to do this was Green. And she has her own scheme to try and figure out, because she thinks the Elite Four are the ones who basically kidnapped her as a kid, but she doesn't have the proof. Mm-hmm. And her idea is, if we're going to find Red, a way we can do that is, what came back? His Pikachu came back. Everything else is gone. Everything else, though, is with him. So ideally, you think, if he only has a team of 5, he would withdraw 1 more. So what if we look into his bank and see what he pulled out?
Yeah, and then they're like, oh shit, something's missing. Something's fucking not there. Someone pull the fucking Eevee out.
Yeah, and then like that, there's this whole scene with her where she's sneaking into Bill's place to do that, and her and Bill get into a faint scuffle. But basically, he's like,
no, she just like ties Bill up. He's like, hey, I thought we were friends. Why'd you just fucking tie me up right here? It's Bill.
Yeah.
Me, Bill.
Oh man, Bill. Wow. So like, I think I gotta say, they gave him the nighttime gown, the nighttime hat. I don't know what the fucking deal is with the nighttime hats. Was that, how long ago was that? What was that?
I just kind of feel like, I don't feel like somebody's really worn one of those hats from like the, past the 50s on up. Let's just say that.
Even the 50s, I can't imagine like some guy getting back from the factory and just,
I'm getting sure out of the guy wearing the hat didn't work at the factory. That's the guy who works.
I know, but I'm just saying, like James Dean taking off his leather jacket, is like slid his cigarettes out of his sleeve, like, all right, time for me to put on my nighttime hat.
I'm pretty sure that the nighttime hat guy was the guy that worked at like the accounting firm or something.
I'm just trying to figure out where that comes from.
I could see it back in the olden days, like if it was like really fucking cold out and like I shit, put my hat on, my head's fucking freezing here. You know what I mean? Like when they're like, why do we install a fireplace fucking 3 stories down and did not think about putting one in the bedroom?
Just put on this fucking Santa Claus hat.
Yeah, like so there's that kind of thing. But of course, I think it's one of those ones they're like, it's Bill, he's Southern, give him a fucking hat.
It doesn't match the rest of his outfit for some reason, but yeah.
Yeah, well, he's fucking Bill.
His mom made it for him. He can't refuse it.
I do have to say this. I love the title of that chapter though. It's Hitmonlee Baby One More Time. It's like, oh, that just you know where you fucking are the second you open to that page.
I didn't even read that, but that's got to be just like someone was getting creative in the editing department when translating. No way that's what it was called in Japan. Or maybe Britney Spears is big everywhere.
Britney Spears is pretty big, so I could almost see it even be called that in Japan.
But like, Hypno-Lee is named something else in Japan because they're named after Japanese boxers. I think they're both named after Japanese boxers or kickboxers. So I think they made it Hypno-Lee and Hypno-Chan in America.
Oh yeah, because it's like Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan. They're like, probably just pissed. Japanese people are like, no, the Japanese Pokemon, not fucking Chinese.
We're not there yet. We'll be there maybe in 20 years.
What? Japanese, Chinese? Like, what the fuck's the difference? Look, it's fucking... You got the Chinese writing, and it's fucking Japanese writing.
That's Bill saying that.
Yeah, just be like, I don't know, shit. Why don't you go back to your Vietnam side? It's not a different fucking country!
I know science, but that's all I know.
I want to say, like, one of the earlier books, there was almost, like, a Limp Bizkit or something like reference, like in like one of the titles, like there was a band like that, and I was like, oh well, we also know where we are now.
That's a possibility. I don't remember which one that was, but yeah. But anyway, she ends up giving this whole explanation that she's trying to push Yellow in the right direction so they can find Red and bring him back. And I remember the exact reason why she's decided to do this with Yellow rather than herself. I think she noticed that he's like got a connection with Pokemon or something. I don't remember the deal. Or she's trying to stay hidden so they don't think it's her. I think that's the whole thing.
Yeah, I think she's trying to stay, definitely hidden. Plus, I think since it's green, she doesn't really like to like get herself too dirty in the work. You know what I mean? She's an opportunist that like if there's something available to do it, like she's gonna do it. This little farm boy can be sent out. Go for it.
And her other thing is, even though she might have the right intentions, she's still going to do it in an underhanded way. And something about Green just makes her a likable character. You know what I mean? I think that even though by this point she is more or less a good guy, she still has some underhanded tactics about it. So, but she even realizes, you know what, Red is the one who we're going to need in order to pull this off. And out of that, if I'm coming in at it from that angle, it's going to be obvious. We got to pull from other angles and get someone they're not expecting via this goofy little Spaniard kid.
Yeah, exactly. Really, you know what Green is? Green is our anti-hero. She's like the Lobo of this book.
You think Blue would be, but yeah, no, she is. Like, Blue's kind of the anti-hero, but he's more of just really stern, and he starts off as the anti-hero, and as time goes on, he becomes more of just the, like, he's more like Ryu. Like, you know, it's all in the heart of the battle, you know, where
Red's like Ken, and then Blue's kind of like Ryu. Like he's more like Ryu if he's like the serious Ryu, because there's like two types of Ryus. There's kind of Ryu who's almost kind of like the kid who's like, you know, he knows training and that's it. And then there's like Ryu who's just like ultra serious and he's the master of everything training because he's just been walking the earth barefoot.
Yeah. Neither of them are there yet, but maybe one day. And then, like, Hypno-Lee uses his, like, stretchy legs, because that's a thing in this particular version. Which that kept on throwing me off, but I think you could see those legs. I get where they're coming from, you know?
Yeah, I think that's, like, one of those ones where it's like, yeah, probably if you're just looking at, like, a picture, like, a hand-drawn picture from, like, the old... Then you're like, oh, yeah, the guy's got little circle things on his legs. They probably stretch, right?
The guy's like, we haven't decided yet. Well, they stretch now.
Yeah.
And then from there, like, Hypno-Lee basically destroys, like, they're about to find out where, like, okay, if we can figure out where he withdrawed it at, that means we can figure out where he last was seen. And the reason why Bill wasn't doing it earlier, because it's kind of just like, you know, it's almost kind of like, it'd be like AT&T giving the government their your information. Oh, wait, they do that. But regardless, it was one of those kind of things where it's just like, well, I can't... Yeah, it's my job, but I can't actually look at personal information for my own deed. And then, you know, that she basically says, look, you want to like, save the world or not? I'm like, all right. And then that's where, before I have a chance to do that, Hypno-Lee comes in, attacks, and they have this chase. And I think what I like about this series, and by this point we're kind of, this is something we've all said before, but I think that, like, I like how this actually has stakes. It's not just, some kid going on the adventure, which can be fun in itself. It's more like there's a lot more at stake.
Yeah, I mean, shit, this issue even has full-on death. That just, happens and just, like, it has characters that just don't even give a flying fuck what they just did. They're like, yeah, fuck it. That comes a little bit later. I will say there's part of, like, the battle with the Hitmonlee, because, like, Green has taught it to fly, which I think that's always kind of the interesting thing, too, is I like how there's a lot of, like, these people, like, they're like, no, I can get this Pokemon to, to do a move that, like, it shouldn't be able to do, but we found a way around it. And, of course, on the way there, Blastoise uses all his fucking, like, water before that Hitmonlee battle. And then there's a part where, like, it's almost kind of weird because, like, Green gives this, like, kind of, like, a command to Blastoise with, like, I don't know, she's like a microphone or something like that she pulls out, like, I don't know, like Jigglypuff's one or something like that. And he's like, oh, Blastoise could hear this. And, like, it pops up with, like, blanked out swear word type things, so it looks like a fucking PlayStation, like, code.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
But then it's like, I really feel like just the way that it looks, the way that it's drawn, it almost looks like Blastoise used fucking, like, cock slap on him, because he uses, like, he's using his, like, cannons, of course, but it's literally the way it's drawn is it's just a turtle shell with this giant fucking rod coming right down on top of fucking Hitmonlee's head. So it just looks like he jumped up there and just, like, a fucking, like, cock shot out. And as I said, it's pretty much a swear word. I mean, I think it's supposed to be almost like, oh, it's code or something like that. But, like, I don't know. The way those two panels kind of go back and forth to each other, like...
That's true, but here's another thing. I'm wondering... I don't think this all came out right away. I think it probably took some... Because a lot of times it takes some mangas a while to get finished up. I'm wondering that little... Because they make a point, like... Give your Blastoise a chance to fight. Like, give it a command. Like, well... If Hitmonlee is fighting Blastoise, that means Bruno, his trainer, isn't too far away. And if I yell it out, they'll know where we're at. So let me pull out this little microphone thing, which sends out this small little bubble, which will shoot over to Blastoise. And I can't be certain, I think that's a reference to Hey You Pikachu.
It could be, because, like, I know, like, in the back, like, when I was reading the special features, it was literally, like, they're like, oh, Pokemon Snap and Stadium just came out, and we're just playing the fuck out of that right now, so... Well, I guess Hey You Pikachu would have been just a little bit later, if that's the case.
But maybe they were aware of it, though, coming out. Yeah. That's the thing. You'd speak into the microphone. I mean, it wasn't this thing you wore around the neck or anything. It was part of the controller. But you'd speak in the microphone, and a little bubble would shoot at Pikachu.
Yeah. That actually probably is. They probably was like those ones like, oh shit, we'll fucking find a way to use that.
Yeah. And then they fight Blastoise, and they kind of come up with all these reasoning, like, why they kind of stand there at a stalemate for a while? Like, well, whatever they were doing, it wasn't really much of a fight. It was more of us just kind of here at the stalemate. We weren't really the main targets. They wanted us away. Like, what did they want us away from? Like, something somewhere where Yellow is. They probably want us to be away from that whole thing. And Yellow's like, I need to find a Pokemon that can surf, so he's looking for a water type, but then he saves a swimmer, so once again, just another random character, one of the swimmer trainers you fight.
He's like, hey man, fucking contest going on, you should show up, bro, like, fucking go there and you can fucking surf, like, look at me, I'm fucking surfing.
Oh, fuck, my leg, take my Slowpoke.
Yeah.
Should I race the thing that's called a Slowpoke? Whatever, I'll do it. And the option is to win a Dragonair, and you find out that Dragonair is actually Lance's, and he flat out just, like, all these people that are in the surf race, he just flat out, like, knocks a bunch of them out, and then shoots a beam, like a hyper beam, over, like, Celadon City or something?
Yeah, it just, like, takes out a whole section of the town.
Vermilion City. City, yeah.
Vermilion City just gets fucking destroyed, because, like... Yeah, Cerulean City's already vanquished. Like, that just never fucking came back. And then now it's just like, he just sends over this, explodes. And there's a part where Yellow's like, what are you doing? There's innocent lives there. He's like, well, there's people here, but, who cares if a few fucking trainers and Pokemon fans and old people and shit that I hate fucking dies. You know what I mean? Like, I'm fucking... Like, they really make Lance like this, like, who the fuck is this? It's like, when he starts explaining stuff, he's like an eco-terrorist. He's like, I just want to fucking eliminate all fucking humans, except for the Elite Four, and let Pokemon live the way it's supposed to be, under my fucking thumb.
Well, he kind of comes out in a way, first, he says, like, they do this, they kind of, like... make it dark, and they pull back, and they just throw a little bit of darkness back out there. He, like, you just destroyed all those buildings, and he says, like, they were empty because everybody was over at the show. But you know what? In the collateral damage, a couple trainers probably bit the dust, but it's what happens. And yeah, he makes a point that like he thinks most people are incompetent and not great trainers. So he thinks that it's one of those things where it's like, I think Pokemon are better or whatever. So it's kind of like that Team Plasma sort of, but not as lame as Team Plasma from Black and White. It's more of this thing where I don't think he wants to kill all people. I think he wants to kill all trainers because he thinks most trainers are hapless, and these are things that should be kind of like do what they want to do. You know, I think that's kind of more his thought process. Maybe I gotta reread it, but yeah.
It was like, I want rules and regulations. It's like, they just fucking hand out Pokemon, you know, any fucking kid that walks up. You're like, no, you need to go through rigorous training. You need to get a fucking Class A license, blah, 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 blah.
Go on down to the DMV.
It needs some government regulation here.
You know, I assumed he was gonna be one of those free market guys, but not the case.
Nope, not Lance. Not Lance now. He thinks there's gonna be rules and take care.
I think the other thing is, I don't remember where they say the surfboard comes from, because he gets in a battle with Lance out in the middle of the ocean. Eventually, Pikachu comes out on a surfboard. I'm not sure if they say where that comes from.
It does, because Pikachu does the substitute attack. So there's two Pikachus out there, and then the second Pikachu, after like they fucking get knocked down by Lance and they're underwater, the second Pikachu's like energy turns into a surfboard.
I'm glad they scienced that one away. But anyway,
which I wanted to say, is this where that original like surfing Pikachu? I know there was that card that was a surfing Pikachu, but like it goes back to like the old school days of like there's a surfing Pikachu. I want to say
it was a mini game. It was like a mini game in yellow, and I think since by this point they're probably pushing yellow. I don't think
there. I mean, there was that image of Pikachu surfing in yellow, but there was nothing beyond that. I mean, I guess
wasn't there a little mini game because you go to the shore of wherever Koga's gym is. You go to the shore, and I want to say you go into some little like thing there, just like, oh, we give surfing lessons. You want your Pikachu to try or whatever? I want to say there's a little mini game for it.
Maybe there was. I just don't really remember that too much. I just remember there was the Pokemon card, and then like it was kind of like a thing. It was like there's the surfing Pikachu, and then like I kind of like how as time has come around, it was like even in like the new Yellow remake one, it was like, oh shit, you could teach Pikachu to surf, and he surfs on a surfboard, you know.
Yeah, I think now I'm curious. Pikachu minigame. Let's see here. Surfing Pikachu minigame is in yellow. Yeah.
Okay, maybe there was one. Yeah.
There is one in yellow. That was a little mini game, and I want to say it happened. Yeah, it kind of happened around that area after you get done with Koga's gym.
Yeah, so you're down there by the beach. Yeah, I can picture the exact area where it'd be at. But yeah, this is one of the ones. It's like in this one here, like I mean, shit, it pops up for about 3 chapters in a row. The surfing Pikachu is like the cover page of it.
Yeah, for a while. And it went from being one of those things where he was just part of the team. Now, I think by this point, his popularity rose a lot more, as well as the whole franchise. So I think they're just like, you know what, put him front and center. That's going to get more readers. Because, you know, ideally you think maybe it would have been like, since it was his first one, and he had such a connection with it, you think it would have been Poliwrath or Venusaur or something. But then again, I also think that, like, well, with 2 things that fucking strong, Grand Pikachu's really strong on this too, with 2 things that strong, it probably would have been a lot easier for him. And this one's a lot more of a probably manageable, you know? For a newbie to train.
Well, and I do think that it is one of those ones that, because I think with those first 3 volumes, that was at the point where like no Pokemon was really like outweighed by the other. They were just kind of all about on equal grounds and so on. And it was just like, I think they kind of had their idea of what they liked. And then once Pikachu's like, oh shit, Pikachu's like really fucking selling. I feel like by the time they got to the yellow character, they're like, you know what? We found a way to make, you know, because in Red's team, it would seem weird if he just jumped up as like the main character because he just hasn't really been that the whole time. But since we have a brand new character, now we can shove Pikachu. I almost have a feeling that it was made a little bit like that. They're like, you know what? Shoehorn Pikachu in a little bit more. And it's not like a bad thing, but like he definitely has more screen time or page time by this point.
And he's the most relevant character, probably most relevant part of the team. Because, yeah, I don't think there would have been as much interest, say, if it was yellow and he was just had Rattata and Duo, you know? Two of those characters, you know, you're like, I'll capture for the collection, but how many people do you know that actually use Duo? Or maybe it's really good, but how many people do you know that use those characters?
You know, well, it's like one of those ones. I think all Pokemon, at the end of the day, like whatever ones you take and train, they're all kind of good as long as you're into like certain things.
Or not Ditto.
Yeah, well, Ditto just has a stupid like. If you want the game to be twice as long, go for it. But yeah, beyond that though, it's like for the most part, all characters are pretty good if you just kind of put the time and effort. But yeah, you never hear of anybody like, oh, I'm gonna use a Doduo or I'm gonna use a fucking like Rattata.
Mm-hmm. And he ends up getting in a fight with Lance. So by this point, he's actually battling, and he's actually getting good at it. So that's good. Mm-hmm. And they come across a Farfetch when they're out on the ocean. They bring it back. And I think, I've said this before. I think this comic is a good example of, like, because it presents things away. I mean, I'm sure the anime has done similar things like this by this point. But they come to this island, and you can tell if you know your shit what these trees are. But they're a bunch of executors or whatever, mm-hmm. And which is kind of a weird thought process. Like, okay, it starts off as like 4 eggs or whatever. Okay, what's it turn into? A palm tree. I'm having trouble with the connection there, you know?
Yeah, I'm almost afraid to make this omelet. Like, is it just gonna fucking grow on me, and just next thing you know, in my kitchen's just gonna be this giant fucking tree looking down, waiting to fucking eat my head off?
Or if I eat it, am I gonna suddenly is it gonna do that shit from like the fountain where like where after he drinks the tree of life, like fucking Wolverine, like plant starts busting out of him?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because somebody's
that part's freaky. That part actually is fucking freaky. Sorry, go ahead.
That part was, but it's like somebody's tried to eat an execute before. They're like, well, I can make an omelet out of this. I know it's against the rules to eat a Pokemon, but fuck it.
Look, I'm already here. I'm on this island. What else are they going to do? Yeah. Well, just this idea, it's just interesting because this right here would be something to be a cool shot, like in a movie somewhere, where they're going through a forest and all of a sudden the trees start coming to life and start chasing them. And then you realize, oh, this is just a barren land. We weren't actually in a forest. This is all just like this is just basically a desert where a bunch of, executes or executors, whatever the fuck they're called, mm-hmm. start chasing us, where we're planting.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think they even say he's like he's on Skype talking to Oak for a second. Like, what the fuck is all this? What's going on here? Like, I don't know, mating season or something? Shit.
I do like when he is talking to Oak, there's like a 1-page thing where like fucking like Gary's sister or Blue's sister fucking shows up and she's helping out Oaks. And she's like, oh, Mr. Oak, or Dr. Oak, Grandpa, And he's like, don't you call me Grandpa. Don't you fuck. There might be some hot ladies walking in here, and I don't want you calling me Grandpa. Like, tell everybody that I'm your fucking brother. Well,
he's
Grandpa, that's kind of fucking weird. Don't fucking tell me what's fucking weird.
Does the new intern start today? Like, yeah, I think she does. All right, just takes off. Just like, no lab coat needed today. All right.
just fucking hairy barrel-chested right there, like, you gonna wear any shirt? No, science.
Don't mind me. I'm just sciencing today. Come on in. You want some coffee?
Just like, just flexing, just kind of there, like, sitting in his chair.
He's doing, like, anytime he gets a chance, he's doing, like, the Captain Morgan thing, just putting his foot up, like, on a stool. Like, it's all about, helping out the environment and all that. Like, I heard he got divorced recently. No, it's nothing. It was a long time ago. Water under the bridge.
She's dead.
I overheard your granddaughter say it happened literally like a month ago. Like, a month ago to me, I've just been the way I live. A month ago might as well have been 1,000 years. No big deal. I move on quickly,
That's not my granddaughter. Right? That's my sister. Just saying. We're twins actually. Same age.
Grandpa, I don't know if this is a good idea. Like, yeah, maybe as good an idea as your fucking map business. How'd that take off?
Yeah, sold 1 fucking map. You bought 5,000 of them.
You gave the first one away for free.
Yeah, guess what? No fucking customers came by because you know what? Pallet Town it has the same fucking locals. It's not a tourist place. That's all it is.
Yeah, we only have 4 houses in Pallet Town. No one ever leaves unless you're blue or red.
Yeah, I was like, or green apparently, but God knows where she came from.
Yeah, I will say going back, there was that weird little thing. And I think we may have talked about them, but it was weird how, like, oh, nearly every major leaguer came from Pallet Town. Like, that seems kind of weird, because that means it feels like, oh, it's your destiny to become this. So I like the idea it's somebody who came from bumfuck nowhere to become this, like, become champion.
It sounds weird. That's the only thing in this entire series so far that I thought was like, it kind of made me go, what? That's fucking... It's kind of dumb because I hate fucking Destiny type stuff. I hate chosen ones. I hate because I like that to me always feels like no. You're saying that only certain people can fucking do stuff, and I like to believe that like if you put in fucking hard work, you can accomplish anything, just like fucking Doc Brown said.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and so that's the one where I thought was like, what?
But everything else,
I think Blue was kind of confused. I like to assume that it's rare. The last time that somebody won from Pallet Town, it was Professor Oak, 65 years. Whoa, wait. It was like literally like 2 years ago. Just saying. Dude, come on, there's fucking chicks in the room. You can't just say 65 fucking years ago. They're just going to look at me like, Jesus Christ, how fucking old's that guy?
She's like, do you have a TikTok account? I'm like, there's the age difference. I think times that age difference by 4. Shut the fuck up.
Oh, Bill got me hooked up with Yahoo Messenger yesterday.
Took me forever to change my AOL account.
Yeah. It was a real hard shift over, I had to learn all kinds of new stuff, And then my Netscape Navigator updated, and I haven't got back online since.
Not doing that again. So at some point, Yellow makes it to Cinnabar Island, and he walks in the middle of a fight, and you see... We know it's Blaine, but it's different right here, because he actually has... Because he doesn't have the glasses, he doesn't have the mustache. So, and later he says, like, I got burnt off some years back, and he just kind of wears the glasses and the mustache and all that. But I think it's kind of interesting, just because, like, I'm having sort of... He's, like, almost kind of like... It looks like he's almost becoming one with Mewtwo, because he has that arm all wrapped up. So I'm waiting to see how this comes back, sort of. Because I'm not sure if he's battling with Mewtwo or if he's part of Mewtwo. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because he does sort of always have that hand wrapped up. And I didn't know if that was something to do with the Master Ball. Like almost like you can't just hold that with, like, a human hand.
Well, remember how his arm was doing the whole Akira thing? Like,
yeah.
Volumes back? Yeah.
Because he is doing this weird training. Like, he literally leads a boy out... to a bridge.
On a bridge.
Yeah, look, boy, you mind showing an old man a good time out in the bridge? Pokemon battle, good time that is.
Well, it's also like he's using...
Don't go ask your fucking parents if you can go out on the bridge with me. Just be a fucking man and do it.
Actually, you know what? No, he is using... there's this one shot where it's like he's doing a certain motion, and then you see like Mewtwo's silhouette doing the same thing. But I think that he is training him because he calls him back to a ball. So, yeah, I think that he's just, like, obscured by smoke and all that.
And maybe that's what he does. He just finds, like, fucking 6-year-old, like, boys that, like, would have no idea what a Mewtwo is anyways. He's like, that's okay, If they're over the age of 9, they're going to start fucking asking questions. But, when they're at that when they're that, like, youth wants to fight, they got a Caterpie yesterday. Like, everything's fucking magical.
They're feeling really fucking ballsy. Well, guess what? How ballsy you feeling? Come on this bridge with no railings.
Yeah, exactly.
This is where the boys become men.
Let me literally pull out the most fucking dangerous Pokemon in the world. What is it? It's a Dewdong. That's what it is. What's a Dewdong? I don't know. Furo, big bird Pokemon.
Ooh, scary. All right, now fight it.
Now fight it. Fucking, I need some fucking training, and I need some youth.
For every child that falls in this volcano, I gain his soul. No, but like as they go back to Blaine's lab, and that's where like Brock calls him. He's just like, "Oh, I think I found like where Red is," and you're like, "What?" And they see like. There's this ice crystal thing of red somewhere in the pewter cave, but then you realize, or Mount Moon, but then you realize, oh, wait, no. He was frozen in this thing that's shaped like him, but then he got out of it.
Just like at some point, just like he breached out of it,
like a cocoon.
Like Ace Ventura coming out of the fucking rhino.
The rhino's butthole. And right as soon as they make that discovery, that's where, each one of the members of the Elite Four starts attacking a particular city. Bruno starts attacking with like an army of Machops and Machokes, starts attacking Pewter City. Agatha starts attacking Cerulean City.
Yeah, I guess whatever's left of Cerulean City, because it's like was that city felt like got hit by like an A-bomb in like fucking one of the previous issues.
They're like, not again. And then like I want to say Lorelei or whatever her name is starts attacking Is it Celadon? Is that she's
Celadon? Erica's there, and she's fucking out there just like shooting a fucking like bow and arrow,
And then they decide, you know what? I think they realized, because that was their army they sent out there. It's like, you know what? They're over at this one other island. We can all corner them if we do this. So, Yellow, you go on this side of the island. I'll corner him off at the other side of the island. As he does that, he grabs the Master Ball, and he says, it's time for us to go, brother. And he's holding the Master Ball. It's like, wait, what? I'm just wondering if he's just referring to, like, the little kid as brother, or if we're going to find out. Because he's holding the Master Ball, and he says, brother, and he's adjusting his armband. So
it's probably like Blaine probably is like, when they're making the concoction for like, they're like, oh shit, okay, we only got this much DNA from you. He looks around, nobody's fucking there, slides his pants down, starts fucking jerking off until like can lay. It's like, put a little bit in with the mixture. No one's gonna fucking know. Stirs it around with the Mew sample. Fucking making Mewtwo here.
It's just a distant shot. Like, it's not close at all. It's like that shot in Texas Chainsaw where the guy gets whacked and then pulled into like the. It's like a shot like that far away. It almost kind of makes it more unsettling.
Yeah, exactly. He's just like, maybe that's what it is. It's like, we're fucking related.
He's just like. It's like very. It's not like it's like just very real. Like.
No fucking music.
just here. Just shuffling. Just. He's like looking around, like all exasperated and shit. Like, all right. Just you hear his belt shuffling. Just like, okay, all right. He looks up. Oh fuck! There's a camera.
Oh wait a second. That's just one I installed. It'll be okay. It was supposed to go.
Do I know the DVR code? I think I do.
Yeah. But yeah, so maybe that's where it's all tied in. Why that's the brother? Why that's related to him? He's one with Mewtwo now.
I'm not sure. I could see maybe they're doing something like. Do they say anything at any point in this like Mewtwo has human DNA or something like that, or is it all? I don't
think I've seen that. And even in this book, it's like what's like literally there's like just like tad bits of this Mewtwo stuff kind of sprinkled in here.
I could see some things. I don't think it's going to be anything like Mewtwo is his brother or anything like what we just joked about. But I could see it maybe being something to the effect of maybe something around the lines of like he and his brother were working on this together and Mewtwo was their project. I can see something kind of like that. And Rocket killed his brother maybe. Well, the way this series going, that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. I do have a feeling that there might be like a bit of Blaine spliced into him. Like
possibly, maybe that's how his arm is. They do make Blaine of all the gym members. They make Blaine the most prominent. Yeah,
it's kind of weird because don't get me wrong. Like, actually, I always liked Blaine a lot, but like, it is one of those ones. Like, it's funny to think that Misty and Brock actually sit like on the back seat compared to Blaine.
Brock is backseat a lot. I'm gonna say of all the gym leaders, of the good ones, Brock is probably the one that's there the least. Misty is there probably the second most amount of the time. Then it's Blaine is the most, and Erica is probably like just like third amount, like maybe more than Brock but less than Misty.
Yeah, because Erica definitely still has a lot of screen time, more than you would think as well. But yeah, it's just kind of funny because you just take the show and you just feel like how much you see Misty and Brock, and you kind of realize they're like, oh, they are not even like B-list characters. They're like C-list characters in this book. You know what I mean?
I think you'd probably call Misty a B character. Compared to how much she probably appears a little less than Blaine, because she's part of the adventure for a minute, and she is one of the first people they cut to whenever shit's going down. And I kind of like how there's this idea that they're all working together. It's not just this thing of like, oh, we battled once and that's it. It's like, oh no, they come back. They come back and they help each other out, and they're all friends. I just think that's kind of an interesting way to go about it.
Yeah, I know, but like at the same time, like, but they still don't like venture together, which is kind of like when I saw like it's everybody's still on their own, but like we still can work together. But as they kind of go farther in with Blaine, and then Blue shows up and Yellow's supposed to be sneaking around, they find that like, oh shit, Team Rocket's back, which is always, it's so weird to see. Like, if you would just see that like last page that's in this book and it just says Team Rocket, and if you would have saw that before reading any of this book, you'd be like, what? That must be you would have been
I would have like.
It's fucking Koga, Sabrina, and Lieutenant Surge, and you'd be like, it's not Team Rocket. Like,
I could actually, you know what? I can honestly see myself being, because I liked the show so much when I was younger, I could see myself being, it's different, I don't like it as much. But then, once I give it a chance, because like, why is Surge a bad guy? Why is this happening? Why'd Polyrath evolve without a stone? But now it's also one of those things of like, now with enough behind it, like, this is a story, like we said that when we read the first one, it's a story that actually, it gives you that nostalgic feeling, and it kind of gives you the same feeling you got of playing the game back as a kid, but it feels like something new at the same time, and a little like way more I can't even talk right now, way better written.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, that's what I like about it is, it gives you that nostalgia feel, yet it's new and fresh, and it almost even gives you, like, that thing of, like, going through it, kind of like, again, for the first time, like, you don't really know what's going to go on, but it is interesting, like, that, Surge, Sabrina, and Koga, they're all bad guys. Like, I like that kind of almost, like, as I said, as a kid, that would have been like, well, that doesn't seem right, but I almost kind of go, you know what? This dynamic of that, and that the Elite Four are just these like ultimate like fucking like terrorist kind of bullies, like super like powerful masters that kind of come around. Like I think it's kind of interesting because like in the game it almost kind of gives a feeling that like okay, Giovanni and Team Rocket are bad, but everybody else is a pretty decent fellow and all and so on. But I just like how it's like in the comic book it's like, oh no, there's tons of corruption going on. People are fucking dying. The regular folks don't even know what's up really. You know what I mean?
Well, it's also interesting just the idea of, like, Elite Four isn't like, oh, no, it's not like they're the top athletes of the league. They're separate from Indigo Plateau. They're totally separate. They're just these 4 people who take it all so seriously, they're willing to kill anybody to make a point or to get to this one particular trainer who they think stands in the way.
Yeah. And even, like, at the end of this book, it's like, in a sense, it's almost like they treat the Pokemon like it's a war. Like, that's really what's going on. It's just like people are like almost battling over areas, battling for Pokemon. You know what I mean? People are getting killed. Armies are coming in. Like, it's almost just like, it's different than like what you would kind of think about like as like sort of the game almost even portrays it, or the cartoon and so on.
Or there's even like, just like you said, a war. Like, they have the city getting attacked by a bunch of different trainers. Not just like, oh no, they won't let us go. What are they doing? Well, they're standing guard at these underground tunnels, and they won't let you go until you get them a soda or something like that.
Yeah.
Where in this, it's like, no, we got like a Machop here guarding the exit. What happens if we go to that Machop? It's gonna rip your head off and jam it up your ass. Like, oh, okay, cool, I'll go the other way.
Yeah. Well, if I'm just gonna fly in. You can't fly in. It's a fucking psychic barrier.
Yeah. So they actually do make it out to be like, they do actually make the world seem a little bit more dangerous, because where it almost, even the game, as much as I love the game, it almost feels like there's no real consequences. Like, oh, I got beat up. Let me just go run over to the free healthcare clinic and get this handled.
Yeah.
But then here it's like, oh, you wandered into a forest and you walked in during mating season. These things are angry that you interrupted them fucking, so they're going to try and eat you. Or fuck you. I don't know. Either or.
Yeah, you thought this would be a fun safari? Not anymore. And I think that's kind of it. The stakes are higher, like the danger level, the idea that people can get Pokemon and get almost like too much power. Like, I don't know. I think it's just like, I like this kind of like, and it's almost like everybody, it's all had like this kind of fresh feeling. Like, people like, we've had these Pokemon here our whole lives, but at the same time, we still have no fucking idea like what they can do and what they're capable of. And, it's almost like they're still kind of figuring this whole thing out too.
Yeah, so this is volume 5, right?
Yeah.
Well, we got 2 more to go after this, as far as the Kanto region goes. And for a minute, I'm like, how are they going to stretch, like, this many more volumes out of, like, oh, that's how you do. You start a war. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. The old two-parter war, climax.
Well, it's like one of those things, like, well, what are you going to do to, like, it's, what are you going to do to stretch it out from the game? Well, we did something. We decided not to follow the game. We decided to do our own thing. It's like, oh, well, in this case, it kind of worked out.
Yeah, I mean, like, I know that's always kind of classic, like, sort of anime, manga kind of thing to do, is just being like, well, you're not getting them out fast enough, and we're pumping these things out, so we're just going to start kind of running with it, you know, and I feel like for this one, it's like one of those ones where, like, yeah, as I said, like, you could see that being, like, a kid almost being like, oh, it's not the same as, like, the other stuff, well, that's kind of dumb, but it's almost like, I personally like when almost things are kind of different sometimes, you know, as long as they're different, like, in a good way, you know, not different for, like, no real reason at all, or because somebody has, like, you know, I'm a creative mastermind, so I think, you know what, fuck the, you know, source material, I'm just going to chuck that on my shoulder and just make up my own ideas, because I think I have better ideas than the actual creators.
Not that shit, but when you could...
Yeah.
I guess the thing that's good about it is it all seems very feasible and plausible for this world, and it actually, because a lot of times when watching the show or playing the game, part of me would wonder, well, why don't they just do this? Why don't they just do that? Well, they do it in this.
Yeah.
They do, like, and they have a little bit more going on with it. And compiled with that, there's a little bit more at stake. And I think, you know, first off, the villains in this are way better, too. So, there you go.
Yeah, they think it through. They got the right answers. You know, the battles are intense and so on. But, yeah, I can't wait to continue on. So much fun stuff in Pokemon Adventures. But till then, go to oldmanorange.com for more podcast comic books like Pizza Boyz. That's Pizza Boyz with a Z, animations, and all that fun, good stuff over at oldmanorange.com. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunnigan.
We'll see you some other time.
Later, folks.
Thanks again for listening to the Old Man Orange podcast. Sure, check out oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, cartoons, music, animation, and a whole lot more. We also have the Old Man Orange blog going with all kinds of fun stuff. If you easily want to support the show, use one of our Amazon links either on the website or in the description of the podcast below. Rate, review, and subscribe to the show either on Podbean, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Newgrounds, or anywhere else that you seem to get this podcast from. Grab the sitcom-styled comic book Pizza Boyz on either Comic Central, Comixology, or Amazon. Want more podcasts? Check out the Indie Comics Club over at Comic Central. I also got a workout website called Thor's Hidden Gym, filled with fitness tips and tricks, videos, and a whole lot more fun stuff in the calisthenics world. Talk to us on Twitter at Spencer S. Holmes and Dunnigan Ryan. Like our Facebook pages of Old Man Orange Productions and Pizza Boyz Comic. Thanks again, we're out of here.